The Leafs just locked up John Tavares and Matthew Knies for probably the same cap hit that Mitch Marner's going to get on the open market. That's outstanding business for a team that almost never wins negotiations. So here's the deal. Matthew Knies signs a 6-year contract with an annual average value of $7.75 million, buying up his age 23 to 28 seasons. Just a great piece of business, like I said. So the Leafs lock up their top 6 left winger for the foreseeable future. And let's not forget, just in a couple of seasons, the salary cap is projected to hit up to $115 million at least. So this gives the Leafs an incredible amount of cap flexibility. As the seasons go on, this cap hit's going to look like nothing compared to what they're getting from Matthew Knies if he continues to deliver, which, I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't. Let's look back on this past season, right? He's the top line left winger, and he'll be staple to that top line with Austin Matthews playing on the left side. This past year, he was 4th in goals for the Toronto Maple Leafs with 29, 5th in points with 58. He had more even strength goals than Austin Matthews. Yes, he played more games. And Mitch Marner. Pretty impressive. In the playoffs, this guy rises to the occasion, and we've seen that since he entered the league. But this past run, he was 2nd in playoff goals with 5, tied with John Tavares. Willie had the most with 6 goals. In terms of playoff minutes, he was 3rd amongst forwards, ahead of William Nylander. That's because Matthew Knies plays in every single situation, power play and on the PK. And if you look at the last 3 playoff runs by the Toronto Maple Leafs where he's been involved, he has 8 goals. Austin Matthews has 9. So he's scoring at an elite clip if you're comparing it to a player like Austin Matthews, and you're getting him at less than $8 million per year until he's 28 years old. And I want to talk about his first year where we saw glimpses of what he could be, right? So he comes onto the team, he plays 3 regular season games, and then heads into the playoffs. He plays 7 games before being knocked out of the playoffs by a guy named Sam Bennett, right? He basically gave him a Russian leg sweep right to the ice and knocked him out of the series. He had a concussion, I believe, but in that playoff run, 4 points, and he had 1 goal in the Florida series, obviously, like I said, before being knocked out. And he's just gotten better since then. As a goal-scoring power forward in the NHL, it's pretty rare to see these types of players, right? Not quite a unicorn, but it's rare. And this stat I'm about to drop on you shows that. In the last 10 seasons, only 8 players total have registered at least 29 goals and 180 hits in a season. Those players, Ovechkin, Brady Tkachuk, JT Miller, Andrei Svechnikov, Boone Jenner, Wayne Simmons, Tom Wilson, and Matthew Knies. The only 3 to hit those marks last season, along with Knies, Brady Tkachuk, and Tom Wilson. Not a unicorn, but damn, he's pretty close. This is a guy, like I said, who plays in every single situation. He can play in your top 6. He's proven in the playoffs. He's getting bigger. He's getting stronger, and he's only getting better. He turns 23 in October, so he signs this deal at 22 years old, and he already is a top 6 guy on a Stanley Cup contender. I know, I can hear the jokes already. Stanley Cup contender, they've only gotten to the 2nd playoff round. Well, okay, I get it, okay? 7 games against Florida, tap yourselves on the back, but you're still getting a player who's on a team that wants to win the Stanley Cup at less than $8 million per, and he plays in every situation. That's pretty good business by Brad Treliving and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, so where does this leave the Leafs right now in terms of cap space? Well, according to Cap Wages, great website, they have 14.4 and change remaining, and they still have some business to do internally. Their UFAs are Mitch Marner, who is, I would say, very unlikely to come back. It sounds like he's going to Vegas. It sounds like that's what's going to happen. There's going to be some sort of sign and trade. So Marner's gone. His numbers are off the books. They have to make a decision on Steven Lorentz. Are they going to sign him, keep him in the bottom 6? I think they should. I think he proved to be a pretty good 4th liner. At times can play on the 3rd line as well. Then you got Max Pacioretty, who had a really, really good playoff run. But, based on his injury history, how much can he actually play throughout the regular season? He's more of a playoff guy, so they might have to manage his minutes. And what is that cap hit? So that's something they're going to have to look at. In terms of restricted free agents, you have Nick Robertson and Pontus Holmberg. Nick Robertson, his name comes up every single season, and it's the same discussion over and over again. Are they going to sign him? Are they going to trade him? Is there a market for him? What do you do with Nick Robertson? This guy clearly can score goals. But is he made for a team that has aspirations of winning a Stanley Cup? Especially a Craig Berube team? Craig Berube asks a lot of his players on the forecheck and on the back check and to be responsible defensively. And Robertson has a problem with that last part. He gets loose with his stick. He takes some bad penalties. And defensively, that's just not his forte. He is a goal scorer. What's that worth? Right? Does he have a position on this team? I don't think he does. I don't know what the market is, but this is a guy I think if he were on the Sharks or the Chicago Blackhawks, one of those teams who are not quite ready to take that leap to the playoffs, he could probably become a perennial 20 goal scorer. I think. But is there a market out there for him? That's something we have to wait and see. So I don't expect Robertson to stay, but that's something they need to look at. Then you got Pontus Holmberg, who Berube seems to like. He's a responsible centerman. He can play up and down the lineup. He's almost like at times a versatile fixer where he can, if you need someone in a pinch to play in the top six, he can. You can put him on the third line. You can put him on the fourth line. He can penalty kill as well. Forechecks, back checks, digs up pucks out in the corner. He does all the things that, Craig Berube likes. So I can expect that Pontus Holmberg will probably be a Leaf next season. Now, what do they need, right? They need a 2 or a 3C. Is John Tavares your second line center? Probably. I think he's going to play 2C and probably play your number one power play unit. You need a 3C. It sounds like Nick Waugh in Vegas could be on his way to Toronto if this sign and trade for Mitch Marner actually happens. So I think he'll end up becoming your 3C, which puts John at 2C. If there's something else out there, I think that the Leafs can improve on in terms of finding a top 6 center. They should probably explore it. I don't know what that's going to cost. I also think they need a top 6 scoring / playmaking winger. You're losing Marner's 99 to 100 points a season. You're going to have to replace that. There's no one player you can bring in right now to replace that, but you can bring in a couple of players who can do that. So that's something else they need to look at, because as of right now, there's no one on that right side on the top line. That's been Marner's spot since he's been a Toronto Maple Leaf. Are you going to put Nylander up there with Austin Matthews and Matthew Knies? We've seen that. It doesn't really work. You need somebody who can move the puck for Austin Matthews and Matthew Knies. Who is that guy? I'm not sure. Internally, maybe they move up Max Domi if they decide to keep him. We saw a couple seasons ago when Marner went down, Domi moved to that right side. It was pretty good, right? But that first unit usually gets the toughest defensive assignments, especially in the playoffs. I don't think Craig Berube trusts Max Domi in those situations, especially with all the dumb penalties he took in this past postseason. So they need another top 6 scoring winger / playmaking winger. Maybe a bottom 6 scorer. They got next to nothing from the bottom 6 in the playoffs. They're going to need a guy who can do that. Maybe Nick Waugh from Vegas can help with that situation. And as a bonus, maybe more than a bonus, they need a puck-moving defenseman. And maybe that's Morgan Riley. Maybe he comes off of a down year and he adjusts to this Berube system and he finds his way offensively. That would be a welcome sight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But if they don't believe that he can do that, then you have to go out and find that. Whether that's trying to convince Morgan Riley to waive his no-trade clause, maybe you move Brandon Carlo, which I'm not a fan of because he's in his prime. He's had a seriously low cap hit, below $3 million a year for the next 2 seasons. He's 28 years old. He's a right-shot D-man who's 6'5", 200+ pounds. It'd be crazy to move him, I think. He's a guy who also plays on the penalty kill and is very good at it. Big stick, big body. So those are their needs at 14-4 and change. They have to make some decisions. So the next few days and the next month or so is going to be extremely fascinating to see what the Toronto Maple Leafs do. But so far, so good. You lock in John Tavares for under $5 million for 4 years. You lock in Matthew Knies for under $8 million for the next 6 seasons. Good piece of business. They're on the right track. Let's see what happens next. Okay, let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this Knies deal? What do you think about the Tavares deal? And what do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs should prioritize heading into the next few days and heading into free agency? What is their number one priority after locking up 2 core pieces of this team? Let me know in the comments below.